I don't think anybody that I've met didn't know, but like, I don't know, people want to like hide you and keep you hush hush and like not announce you to the world. And
I've
I'm
never
sorry,
understood that. I mean, listen,
if you're dating me, I need you to hold me up like the cub on the Lion King to the world, you know, and be like, this is mine. Look at mine. Like, that's what I want to be to you if we're dating. You know?
No, and I hear you. I mean, because I mean, where you deal with that, I deal with it on a different way with race. You know, I've dated mainly Europeans. You know, and majority of my exes have been Italian or Portuguese or Lebanese or Spanish or whatever, and it's always been. I mean, I'll true story. Like a couple, you know, many years ago, I was after I got split from my ex. You know, I dated this girl, and we knew each other for a very long time. And I mean, I just like you, I've been single since 2004, since my split, because I'm tired of being a secret. Like it's like they'll sleep with me, they'll hang out with me, they'll want to be on the red carpet with me. But I remember one time I was driving in the car with this girl, and she's a grown ass woman, just like you. And she's like, the phone rings, and she's like, shh. What the fuck you mean, shh? She's like, shh. I'm like, what do you mean?
You're not gonna be louder when you answer the phone, by
the
way.
So she's like, shh. So then she's talking, whatever, and then she gets off the phone. I said, what was that about? And I'm very blunt, just like you. And I was like, let me ask you a question. I said, and I've known this girl, as I said, for probably like 15 years. And I was like, does your family know that I'm black? And she was like, she went just real quiet. And I was like, do they know that I'm black? And she's like, well, D, you know, and this is the classic line that like you get, you're a porn star. I get, well, D, you wouldn't understand because they're old school. I'm like, so old school is basically the definition of racist, because that's what it is. Like, let's be fucking real. Like there's no, it's a polite word that you want to use, but it's what it is. And I'm like, you're a grown ass woman. You should be able to make your own decision. It shouldn't be about what somebody thinks. And I think even with dating, because I've dated a porn star before, and it didn't. She went off and did her thing. It didn't bother me because, again, if you know what you're getting yourself into in the beginning, then you accept that person with everything. And what they do is a job. Same way when I go to work, like if I do a movie and I've got to do a love scene or make out with a chick or do a photo shoot where I'm doing a fake wedding, doesn't mean I'm getting fucking married. Doesn't mean bottom line I'm falling in love. It's a job, the same way you do a job. So like in this pandemic, a question was asked to me before was, you know, when we look at the way the country and has been running this nightmare and locking down businesses and locking down, you know, people in their homes, has that affected the adult entertainment industry since this pandemic has started?
I think it's only like helped the adult industry since it started, especially with OnlyFans, which you can find me on OnlyFans, Silvia Saige, XXX. But because everybody was at home and everybody was bored, so everybody was jumping online and finding whatever they could find. And the nice thing about OnlyFans is it is me in my home. I'm literally filming everything from my fucking couch, which is why I always tell people, like, it costs a lot of money to get me out of my house, because I don't think you understand how much money I make never leaving my fucking home. So the pandemic only increased my sales tenfold. I mean,
but I'm talking about going out and performing, though. I'm talking about like in the performance aspect, like working with companies.
I mean, it definitely affected it for a short portion. We were on hold from March until July, but as soon as, March until June. But once kind of things started to open big up slowly, we opened right back up. We were COVID testing every 48 hours. So we could still shoot together. But the companies were full force ready to come back because they are used to having a backlog of content to put out. And now they had no content. So every company out there was like, we need to shoot nonstop. So it was like when I came back from quarantine and went into shooting, I was shooting 20 times a month, and I had to tell my agent, like,
take a break.
Stop for a second. I literally shot for probably 20 days a month for 3 months, And then I said, hold on, I need to take some time off because I just can't mentally keep doing this every day. It's exhausting to shoot every day. So I had to just take 3 months where I did like a few shoots, maybe 3 or 4 a month. And now I'm like, just told my agent I can go back to like 5 or 10 shoots a month. But it was nothing but good for us because it just made us shoot so much more. So I don't think it hurt us at all.
Have you ever, like, and I know, I mean, there's certain performers in the sense who have been involved in different scandals per se of treatment of other women in the industry and stuff like that. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt that you were in some sort of danger in that business? Because I mean, obviously, to take the trust of when you first started getting into the business, when you don't know the business, I mean, did you ever have any bad experiences?
I definitely had bad experiences. I never felt in danger, but I definitely had experiences that I wish I would not have said yes to. I thought in the beginning, when I first started with my first agent, it was more like I worked for him. And I had to do the things that he required. I had to check off all of his boxes. And that's what I thought. And so that was my mentality. And I just worked for this man. And I was like, basically, he's my pimp. And I do these awful things. And I definitely regret a lot of that. I regret even signing with his company. I regret working with him at all. But then again, then you get the power of no, and everything changes.
So like for you, like what, in the sense, would you say has been the harder road? The comedy aspect of stand-up, or the judgmental aspect of getting over not giving a fuck what people think about what you do and who you are? What's been the harder road?
Wow, that's a great question because I don't really know the answer. They've both been quite the struggle. Honestly, comedy is so hard. Everyone thinks like, oh, I could get up on stage and I could be funny. Like, then do it. Then try it. I would love to see it. Comedy is overwhelmingly hard. The pressure that you feel as a comic to come up with fresh stuff. And especially once people start saying, oh, she's good. When you go and take a stage and people are going, oh, she's so good, you're gonna love her. And then you go, oh fuck, I drank too much before I came. I'm really high. Like, am I gonna be the punny people that they want me to be? It's so much pressure to be. And I think that the pressure of that, dealing with how people view you in the industry is also a huge struggle, but it's a me struggle. It's a constantly fighting off the not good enough demons, because there also is this weird level of like, you know, being proud of yourself, but then don't be cocky. Like, so you gotta stay like right here of like proud of yourself but cocky, so you can't talk about being successful because then you're an asshole. Like, but you can't, you know, you can talk about being poor and you can talk about this and you can talk about being here. So it's a weird level to live in general, but both of them mind-blowingly hard. So,
do you find it harder now compared to when you started? Because obviously when you started, there wasn't social media. And now with everyone having an opinion, I mean, how do you deal with the trolls per se, whether it be on the internet or just in general? Like, has there ever been a point? Because I mean, you did a very beautiful, guys, if you haven't seen it, you should go and check out her IGTV. She did a very, very beautiful unveiling of just who this woman is. And if you have ever thought you knew this person, Silvia Saige, based on typing in an xxvideo.com, you don't know shit. And you need to really pay attention and know that, number one, that behind this beautiful person is a real person with a heart. And, you know, I think the biggest problem that we have in society nowadays is that people give opinions when they haven't been asked for them. And if you don't like what she does or what she does for a living, or don't like her comedy, or don't like her face or anything, there's a very simple solution. You can unfollow, you can remove yourself from the equation and problem solved. So for you, like, have you ever had to deal with even just as from the trolls, but like from your own personal family, ever having to come to you and be like, you're ruining the family name, or you shouldn't be doing this, or
never my family. Never my family. Now, I think my mom probably struggled the most in the beginning because she's really religious. But even then, like, my family's never made me feel disgraced or unloved or anything like that. It's only been, honestly, the random strangers or bitter comics. I feel it from bitter comics quite often. And honestly, I like to stay one level above, and I try not to go down to that, and I try not to dig back, but I'm human. And there's definitely been times, and there was a time literally yesterday where I fought with a troll and I went too deep into it. And then a buddy of mine who I often look to for advice, I literally love him. He called me and he literally said, he was like, don't feed into them. All they want is a response. He was like, silence is golden. Leave it alone. And I was like, know what? You're so right. And he goes, go hike Runyon. And I was like, okay. And I did. And I went and hiked
that's
Runyon.
your spot. I know you love that spot. You're always
It's my
running.
mental clarity. I love it there. And afterwards, I called him and I was like, you're so right. And I was like, now I'm just mad at myself that I even responded at all, because I should have never even went there. But I think the thing is, it hurts me the most is other comics telling me I'm not a comic. That's the thing that really like hurts my ego. And that's what I actually made the IG post about. It was another comic had written next to my name in a green room, like, ooh, why? Like, why would they have me at that comedy club? And it's like, that's the thing that hurts me the most, is because it's my biggest passion. It's what I spend the most time devoted to, and people don't give me the credit for it because I also have an adult career.
But do you feel it's because you have an adult career, or do you feel that if the roles were reversed and it was a male adult film star becoming a comic, would they have the same result?
They would love it. They would love it. Everybody would invite him out to everywhere. All the comics would invite him to their house to shoot the shit. He would be everybody's biggest acquaintance. Like, he would be on all the stages. But because it's a woman, it's also like, I don't know why she thinks she deserves to be here. I'm like, well, because I've been a comic for 9 years. So that's why I deserve to be here.
Well, it's sort of what I had said to you before when I kept on asking you, when I was like, look, I want to help you get out there, but you need to get the material documented, because I think that's the biggest piece for you, that you, as you said, when silence is golden, where you don't have to say shit, where if you have something to physically show, like in the sense of your product and what you've done, and it's put together and it's packaged together properly and it's marketed properly, then it's not going to be about what she looks like, what she's done in the adult world. It's going to be like, okay, she's a comic. But when I tell people, when they don't know, because I mean, it's like I see, for example, on Instagram, you got girls who will submit shit to us, and they'll be like, I'm a model, I'm an actress, I'm a friggin' artist, and I go into their bio and I see it, and I'm like, okay, well, do you have a portfolio? No. Do you have a demo reel? No. Do you have an IMDb? No. So I'm like, explain to me how the fuck you are these things.
Right.
When
and I have reels. I have plenty of comedy reels. I just don't share them online because I share them with bookers. And I always tell people, if you want to see me do comedy, buy a ticket and come to the show.
No, and that's fine. But that's where I think for you is the missing piece to shut those fucking haters up. Because once they see, okay, if they Google, whether they Google in the sense, number one, and they find your porn, but they see the same large amount of content of your comic stuff, it's going to change the perception. So, I mean, for you, like, what would you, with that stereotype, what do you feel should be done if you were to be able to change the landscape? What advice would you give in the sense for the bookers, the people who are in the comic business, to change that stereotype?
Well, I say it all the time, actually, because I always say, people are like, oh, what's your end goal? And I'm like, well, my end goal is I want to do for sex and sexuality what Ellen DeGeneres did for being gay. Ellen DeGeneres